know a couple more people are going to be trickling in, but we will call it to order. And we have to do a roll call vote just to call to order. So not vote, but just roll call of us all here. So Dick Hartman.
Dick Hartman here.
Yep. Rosalind Acosta.
Here.
Debbie Oakes.
Here.
And Elisa Magnata here. Any public comment? Anybody online? No.
No
All
hands
right.
raised.
I'm sorry?
She said no hands raised.
No hands raised.
Okay, thank you. And then moving on to the minutes from our last meeting, April 14th. Hi, Judy. If anybody has read them and feels comfortable, it can take a motion.
I move to approve.
Okay, thank you. And
Second.
thank you, Rosalind. All right, roll call vote. Dick?
I, Dick Hartman.
Yep, Rosalind?
Yes.
Debbie?
Yes.
And Elisa, yes. All right, we're moving on to staff updates. Another long memo, great memo, lots going on, Amanda. Is there anything you want to call out? There are a couple things I wanted to point out, but I'm just wondering if there's anything that you wanted to call out.
No, I mean, I just wanted to update you all. The first phase of the wayfinding, kind of moving that project forward. We're going to be getting the final report from the consultants at the end of this month. But we are engaging in the next phase of a planning process. But I submitted a grant to the One Stop program through the state for the actual signs in the ground. So
Exciting.
we'll hopefully find out in October, and then we'd be able to. So just trying to keep it all moving forward.
Yep.
But it does take time.
Yep, good. And the logo will be on the new signs?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think the logo looks nice.
Yeah, so we're gonna have a graphic designer develop sign guidelines around what each type of sign would look like, and so we'll be working on that in the next phase.
We're just growing up. It's
I
like
know.
so
I
mature,
know.
like a real, like a real company. It's exciting. In here, one of the ideas that we have talked about is like, what other initiatives can we help launch or that we can help amplify to bring families and bring people to town? You know, obviously, housing is very important. Changing the zoning was very important. Economic development is, change of zoning is at the foundation of economic development. And I loved the remote worker bonus that you found, Dick. And I mean, we've talked about it at Housing Assistance and at the county for a long time, but I do wonder if, I know we're going to talk later about the charge of our committee changing and getting kind of new guidelines, but I think it's important to keep these kind of ideas coming from us and helping to, I don't know, inform or amplify or you know, educate the town on what we're seeing or what we think that the needs are. I don't know, Dick, if you wanted to talk a little bit about what you found or what your thinking was.
There are just some, some reason being just a little bit informed and then a little bit of research.
Yeah.
There's things that go on. I happened to be in Asheville right after our last meeting. Actually bought a business there. And so it's just a neat little town with lots going on, and that is an arts community. And then it's kind of rung the bell for me that as it's a little bit in keeping, we certainly have a little bit more than the seeds of that germinating. And if that's might be a direction we go. And that does also play to remote people. It's a lot easier for an artist to pick up their craft and move than it is a manufacturer. I just think that there's some of these things might be possible, but we have to find out if we think it's worth us pursuing, because I think it is up to us to start suggesting,
Shifting, yeah.
looking for,
Shaping that.
and it's going to resources.
Yeah.
And is the community going to support, financially support some of these things, whether it be plain old money, or if it's tax abatements, or if it's other resources that we create. You know, and it's up to us to figure out if that's something we want to promote.
Right.
And if we think that it, you know, it's in our charge. And then, so we're just gonna kind of winnow through some of these ideas and come up with a plan to say, you know, go to our bosses and say, what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Rosalind?
You know, I think I've seen these things. Also, my experience is mostly from Tulsa, where I have frankly, a daughter-in-law a stepdaughter that moved there with her husband, and they each have gotten, $10,000 to live there on the Tulsa Remote program. You know, the difference, I think, is, Greenville and Tulsa, all these places are fairly low cost of living places, right? So $10,000 is a big deal because housing is so inexpensive. You know, there is precedent so that we can research some of these things to see how they worked and whether they might work here. I mean, I would love to do something to incentivize young people to move here, young families to move here, or folks that are just working remotely, right, that want to buy a house. But again, it all comes back to housing all the time. And, can they afford, is $10,000 going to make them move here?
Yeah, be enough.
And, perhaps, I think if we're serious about doing anything like this, we need to talk to Greenville, we need to talk to Tulsa, what worked, what didn't work. In their case, it worked beautifully. They now have 2 babies that they didn't have before they moved to Tulsa. So they're rooting in the community.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, more research and, does it work in a high-cost place like Orleans?
Yeah. Debbie, were you going to say something?
Well, I just had a question first, because you talk about remote worker. You mentioned remote worker, artists being remote workers, but they're not. Let's define our terms, because to me, remote, there are 2 different groups of people. People who don't live here now, who you want to recruit to live
Yeah.
here. But remote workers are people who live here but work elsewhere. And they're
Yep.
2 very different groups,
Yep.
and different things will attract those people. So I
But,
just want
yeah,
to define our terms before as we're talking about remote workers. Who's a remote worker?
These are strictly remote work programs. So
Yeah.
these are folks that can work. They live and they play and they work in the community. But it doesn't matter. Their work is headquartered somewhere else, and they might fly there once a month. But they have remote jobs.
Yeah.
So they are.
Yeah.
That was my
Yeah, they usually
They don't
make
have-
more.
question. But that's not what the artist programs are.
Correct.
Duke, Asheville, those were move here, set up a business
Yeah.
physically here.
Correct,
And there's
correct.
incentives for you to move here.
Correct.
I just want to, because they're kind of
You're exactly right.
different incentives that one
Yeah.
would look at.
Yeah, and they're at different income levels probably,
Exactly.
and you'd need
Certain
different
remote
resources.
workers
Yeah.
are people with disposable income who
Yeah.
could afford to live here.
The commission's done a lot of research on this and looked at all the programs around the country. So we could possibly talk to Christy or someone from her team coming in to help us understand what they found. The irony is we've had an outmigration of, 20 and 30-year-olds for 20 plus years. And so now we're trying to find a way to either retain them or have them come back. P-Town did the same thing. I don't know if you remember, P-Town shut down its school system. And so now they're trying to get families back. They have free childcare and a lot of housing and great housing programs. So hopefully we can kind of get ahead of that so we don't have to have such an investment to attract people to come. We've got a lot of people that live here. How do we retain them as well? So that would be another program, a retention program for locals
Yeah.
graduating from high school or coming back after college. They already have an affinity here and already have family, presumably, and connections. So not just, new isn't always better, but sometimes just trying to keep the locals. So there's good programs and opportunities for us to think about. Anything else on Amanda's report or all the work that she's doing? Rosalind, your hand's still up?
No, I just
Okay.
raised it. Amanda, you referred in your report to a bunch of grants that you were hoping to hear answers on. I think it was last month or this month. Anything new on that side?
Yes, unfortunately, the kind of private grants that I applied for, we did not receive. There was an AARP grant and then a T-Mobile hometown grant, which they're highly competitive. So it was honestly, I looked at it as a really great way to kind of formulate ideas and programs and concepts and things like that. So we didn't. They were for holiday displays and murals.
right.
And then I have not yet heard back from the EPA grant that I applied for the ocean-friendly Orleans initiative that we're working on. So
All right, thank you.
Okay, next agenda item is the Governor Prince project. And just as a matter of order, Elizabeth, I have a question. Can I sit in the audience or should I leave the room altogether?
Probably just better safe than sorry.
Leave the
right?
room?
To
Okay.
Recuse and
I'm going to
leave the room.
recuse myself because this is a housing assistance project, and I will leave the room. But I'm very interested to hear how you're explaining it. That's the reason why. I will have my cell phone and be in the hall. Oh, I'm handing chairmanship to Dick Hart.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Elizabeth Jenkins, Assistant Director of Planning and Community Development, and the Governor Prince project. I'm sure you guys have all been following along. This is a long-standing town project that started with town meeting purchase of the property by both town meeting and the Affordable Housing Trust. An RFP, I should say a committee, a community committee was developed to make recommendations for use of the property. Debbie sat on that committee. Debbie, please feel free to jump in and talk to process. But the conclusion of that committee was to use the property for housing and to maximize housing opportunity on the site. There were some plans and concepts developed. Those were put into an RFP. Housing assistance, together with their partners at POA and Habitat for Humanity, responded to that RFP with a development proposal on the site. And now we are at the point in time in which that project is seeking local permits and zoning permissions at the Zoning Board of Appeals. So that's through a state comprehensive permit process where the Zoning Board of Appeals acts as the singular review body for all reviewing agencies in the town. So as part of that process, all local boards get notice of the application. So we thought it was appropriate to include at least an update to the Economic Development Committee on this project. Obviously, we just heard as part of the last discussion, and I'm sure many of your discussions prior, that housing plays a key role in our business community and our economic development community. So we just wanted to, again, bring to your attention that that public hearing is open at Zoning Board of Appeals. It was continued to the 24th, but they are still taking comment from members of the public or boards and committees. So if this board felt the need to or the desire to weigh in on that project, happy to try to answer any questions or pass those on to the zoning board on behalf of the applicant, or again, just allow this board the opportunity to make comment, the zoning board.
I do have a question. I know there's criteria for applications and what I'll call it the demographic, the constituency of the residents is going to be. Is there an opportunity, is that set in stone? Is that completely done?
So the project, I should say, the project is proposed to happen in 3 phases. The first phase is a 61-unit rental project that is going to be dedicated entirely to individuals who make between 30% and 80% of AMI. Yes, that's fairly set. I mean, this project is the costs overwhelmingly will be financed through the low-income housing tax credits that are sold as a result of that housing development. So that is the manner in which they got their approvals at the state to to apply for that comprehensive permit, the state had to find that they had a project that was financially feasible. And it was that unit count and that affordability tied to that funding source that allowed the state to make that determination. It's also what they put in their proposal to the town that they would put on that property. And now the town, through the select board and the trust and this development team, have an agreement that they will, again, move forward with that development scheme. So yes, in terms of our general unit count and our AMIs, it's fairly established at this point. Again, going back in 3 phases, the 61 affordable rental units, 10 homeownership townhomes at 200% AMI, and 7 Habitat for Humanity homes affordable at 80% AMI.
My question is, and going back to Rosalind's point, where economic development and anything we're going to track as housing is our hurdle. Is it conceivable that the town could set aside some number of those units, even if they fit the criteria, for workers that came, a business that said, hey, we're gonna put in a 15-person office, and we could say, here, we have 3 residents for you, that you have to meet the criteria. Is that logical? Is that feasible?
That's a great question. So any project that receives state, federal, or local funds has to comply with fair housing requirements, meaning everybody has sort of equal access and ability to be able to be tenants in there, and there's no discrimination based on a wide range of things. But again, because there are federal funds going into this, and again, state, local, we have a local policy as well, they have to comply with both the policy as well as the procedures that go with leasing up the units in compliance with federal fair housing. So this, the way they do this is through a lottery process. It's literally like a drawing, in which folks are able to put in an application, and then that's how individuals get preference. What we can do is we can, as a community, ask that individuals who either are living in our community now, are working in our community, or have children in our school system get first pick in this lottery drawing. So actually at the select board meeting last week, the select board voted to put in what we call a local preference requirement into the initial lease up on all 3 phases of the development.
Right. Can I make a comment?
Debbie?
Thank you. I just wanted to sort of working through this through in my own brain, and I just want to make clear what I think I've landed on is that whether there's a local preference, may be a good thing, and that's on balance. But anybody who lives in these units is working and living somewhere in or around Orleans. I mean, they're not. I think people lose sight when they say they're going to. If you win this lottery, it doesn't mean you get a free apartment. You are employed somewhere. And the rent, I wish we could speak to this a little more forcefully. The rent, even for the lowest income units, could you give me a number? It's pretty significant. For a family of 4, $2,000?
I can, yeah, I think for, I can't give you the 30, but for the 80%, the rent is still around in between $2,000 and $2,500. So it's still a significant rent cost for an 80% AMI unit.
One could argue it's not even affordable. I mean, that's a lot of money, $2,500 a month. So anybody who comes into these units, whether they currently live here in their parents' basement, or they're just graduating from high school or college, or they currently live off Cape, and they're coming for a job here, they have to have a job, right? They have to have a job. We should keep that in mind. These are people who are coming to live here and work here.
Right. And they're automatically, it's just the way the process works. They're automatically, by definition, paying more than 30% of their income if they get that apartment, because that's how they calculate the rents, right? At 30% AMI. To make these projects work, it's very, very expensive to build things. They have to try to keep that balance in place. There's only so much subsidy available. So, I mean, yes, having having stable, reliable housing that is available to you is a huge benefit to folks in our community. But yes, it can still be very, very expensive and have to think about the sort of economic and job creation side on the other side of that coin.
I'm just saying, we're working hand in hand. I mean, you want people to move here. Here's a housing, whether it's 30% or 120% or 200%. Whoever moves into these houses within these qualifications is living and working in Orleans.
Once they're here, they're an Orleans
Yes.
resident.
And they're paying, I mean, there seems to be this attitude, I just want that somehow if you win this lottery, you are given an apartment. And that is not what it is. You're given it in the sense that you have the opportunity to pay a market of what 5 years ago was a high market rate for an apartment. So it's not a freebie.
No, and it's just an opportunity to file an application to lease an apartment. You still have to pass credit and background checks, et cetera. Just because you win the lottery, it's not even a guarantee. It's just a opportunity to apply.
Right.
Okay, any other questions?
So do we need to vote on this? Is there something that we need to do if we want to make a statement about this, Amanda or Elizabeth?
So that's up to you, but if the committee does want to go on record, again, as the committee, as opposed to as individuals, and make a comment on the project, then yes, you would have to essentially work with maybe one of us, probably Amanda more appropriately, to craft a statement and take a vote on that.
I want to add something else, a whole other area before we get to that point, because I'd want it included. I think we all agree that housing is essential, right, to economic development, and we've well established that in our economic development plan as well as the comprehensive plan. But the other piece that's coming out in the discussions of this particular project, there are two aspects. One that is that as was requested by the task force, the original task force, there is diversity in type of housing. So it's not, the bulk of it is rental, up to 80%, because that's where the funding is, basically. But there's also that missing middle, both in the type of housing and also the population that would be eligible to be in it eventually, which we also want. And I think we should be applauding that. That's for the working, other working people, the firemen and the teachers that we talked about wanting to be able to have housing available for that, cohort. But the other piece that's come up, this is a big project on a piece of land that is at the gateway to the village center. It is really essential. This was also stated at the task force level originally, and that went into the RFP. It is absolutely essential that it look really good because it represents our town. And another piece of economic development, we've got signs that look pretty, we've got activities happening in the streets, we've got brick sidewalks, we've got our nice light posts. We're trying to make Orleans an attractive place to attract businesses and visitors and residents. So the look of the development is really important. And there have been some challenges to the design that's been presented and suggestions for improvement of that design. And I don't want that to get lost. We should take every opportunity we have to make sure that once this project's built, and it's gonna be there for, 50 years going forward, that it looks like something we can all be proud of when we invite people to come into the village center to work, play, and open businesses, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know how I obviously feel really strongly about this. I don't know how other people on the committee feel, if we want to include that, making that point. I don't want to see the tail wagging the dog when it comes to process. There's certain ways things have to happen, And sometimes the end result happens very logically within that process, but it's nevertheless not the result we wanted. So want to make sure we get the result we want as best we can. Obviously, not everything's going to be perfect, but there are real opportunities here. We have volunteers in the community, architects in the community who have stepped forward, who are willing to volunteer their time and provide input to the developers to try to make this the best looking development we can make. So that's my 2 cents, 10 cents.
So Amanda, do you have enough to craft a statement for us, and do we do it in the next meeting? Elizabeth, is that too late, or do we need something beforehand?
You know, it is unclear. I can guarantee that the public hearing will be open through the 24th. You know, I suspect it will remain open after that. Again, I can only give you certainty that the public hearing will be open through June 24th. My guess is that they will continue it to another meeting, but I can't speak for the board.
Okay, sure. Well, look, I'm completely supportive of this project, and Debbie, I hear what you're saying. You know, we every building we have should we should have pride in what we're building. You know, we can probably put some statement around that. I don't think that would be difficult. But I am very supportive of supporting this project and doing what we can to help it move forward. So if we need to craft something, and can we do an email approval, Amanda, on this? I don't remember if we're allowed to do that.
Yeah, so I think, sorry, as long as you guys don't deliberate out of
Don't
session and
discuss-
communicate
don't
exclusively
discuss,
with
correct.
Amanda.
I should know the answer to that, Elizabeth. All right. Any other comments on this? I think we've probably beat this one pretty well.
No, agreed. I think it's safe to say that we're all in support of it, and I think, Rosalind, that's a good idea, is that we kind of circulates our ideas through Amanda, let her craft something that we can approve electronically. Or opine on electronically. All right, anything else on this? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yep, and
Thank
always
you.
happy
Thank you,
to come
Elizabeth.
back. I know Debbie at the planning board, we're going to start talking about zoning changes that we're going to bring to fall town meeting tonight. So anytime we want to sort of put EDC and planning energy together on zoning and housing, happy to do that.
Thank you.
Elisa, thank you.
Okay.
All right. Awesome.
Project's still on.
Come on, let's go. Good. Got a lot of money invested in it, so. Report, thank you, Dick, by the way. Report on Orleans Local Impact Grant Program.
Yes.
Thank you for the flyer.
Yes. So that was something I created for the website
Yeah.
for people to reference because we just announced that the next round is open. As you are all very intimately aware, last year was our pilot of this grant program, and we awarded 9 grants totaling $54,000 last year, and it was to 4 local events, no, 3 local events and 6 small businesses. And this year, the grant program was built into the economic development budget, and so we have $50,000 to give out. And so this was a summary of the grants that were given out last year. And just for the public's information, The grants are due June 25th at 5 p.m. If you go on orleansma.gov and hit the business tab, you will be able to access that information about the grant program, all of the eligibility criteria, this flyer that lists the what was funded last year to kind of give people an idea of what the review committee looked for, and then and the application form obviously is there as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
You
Or
remember how many applicants we
there were
had?
22 applicants.
22?
Yep.
And I'm sure the demand is as high this year, or?
Yeah, well, I had, there's still, I think we have 2 more weeks. And I know that this, we have heard from businesses, this is a tough time of year. They're gearing up for all sorts of things, but unfortunately our fiscal year is July 1 and if I want to, give them a full year to spend the money, this is just the way, the cadence that it has to go.
Meaning it's hard for them to get the application in?
I think it was, and I think things will change as people get used to having this available. I think it's, people who were on the review committee last year, and any grant review committee is going to say if we have a dialed-in proposal with an estimate of expenses, that's a much more attractive application than someone saying, I think I want to do this, and I think this is how much it's going to be. So I understand that it might be hard for businesses to get an estimate for different projects. Unfortunately, we didn't know until town meeting that the budget was approved, and then I had to get, the materials out. So this is the timeline that we're working with. Like I said, hopefully moving forward, we'll be able to have this much more, a sure thing. So, yes, I have heard from some businesses that they, they're very busy gearing up for summer. But I did have an information session yesterday. I had 3 nonprofit organizations in attendance, and one that I spoke to afterwards. So for anyone, public and businesses, anyone who's listening, I am available to answer any questions. I am happy to talk through the application, the eligibility criteria, ideas about what to apply for, and things.
Yeah. I like that you didn't just spread 54,000 amongst the 22 organizations. You made meaningful.
Yeah, and I think
Grants.
I think I said this in the past in other grant programs that I've managed that were very similar to this. It's just much more impactful. As a nonprofit, to receive $500 for something, it's almost like it costs that much to apply for the grant. So just in time. So I think we'd like them to have an impact, and that doesn't mean if you don't get it this year, don't try again next year. We do say, if people did receive or organizations received the grant last year, they cannot apply. So if a local business applied for something for their business, they have to wait, a round
Cycle.
To reapply for something else. If they are going to put on a community event, that is a different category. So again, we're still working it out, and I think it's just helpful to reevaluate the program every year and tweak it and figure out what works and what doesn't.
And while I was in the hallway, I saw that we're doing a community-wide garage sale.
Yeah.
Very excited.
Yes,
My business
town-wide
is
yard
very
sale.
Happy
Yeah.
about that.
So June 29th and 30th, all they have to do is sign up with the Recreation, Culture, and Community Events Department.
Yeah.
They'll be listed on a map we'll be pushing out. And the select board voted to waive the fee for a yard sale that day. So that's kind of the incentive to have it on that day. And then the first, I can't remember if it's 20 people who signed up got one of the signs that are in our brand. And
Yeah.
they look really pretty.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Great.
Yes. Bulletin board.
Now I have a deadline.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
what I need.
Incentive to do your
Thank
spring
you.
cleaning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just congratulations. I think it's great first year to get this going, and I'm sure it'll build momentum. But that's fabulous to have this available.
Yes, and it's been really great to hear from, the small businesses and how it helped their business to grow even now. First Fridays, Viv's was able to do their mobile smoothie cart because they got through the grant, they got a juicer that is mobile and not stuck in their location. So it just kind of, it opens up their business to additional revenue streams and additional community engagement, which is great. Yeah.
Great. All right, update and discussion on economic
Yes.
development plan.
So I put together a slideshow, and I tried to print the slides for you guys this morning, but I couldn't get the printer to work. So, but it just felt easier to gather all of the information into PowerPoint. The economic development plan, you're all very intimately familiar with. It was done in 2022 and has been a source of guidance for me in a lot of the work I've been doing this first year and a half that I've been here. And it felt like a good moment to actually, as I was kind of presenting a budget this year, it was nice to be able to look back and say, wow, we've really done a lot with this and invested a lot. The town of Orleans has invested a lot in economic development since this plan. So just to remind you all and everyone watching why we undertook the 2022 economic development plan. The town had historically played a limited role in economic development. There was a decline in business activity and a rise in store vacancies, and driven by lots of market factors. And for the first time, the town committed to becoming proactively involved in developing and growing business, and the goal is to increase Orleans' economic vitality. And what came out of the plan were these 5 guiding principles to promote growth in the village center and town cove and Route 6A waterfront, create memorable seaside town experiences to extend visitor dwell time and increase local and visitor spending, reinforce Orleans as the commercial hub of the Lower Cape, identify economic development leadership roles and resources to align community efforts towards common economic development goals, and to manage and protect natural assets and sustain tourism activity, retail spending, and blue economies. The Orleans of tomorrow was this kind of concept that was highlighted in the plan. So it looked like well-protected and preserved natural assets, sustainable year-round outdoor recreation and a thriving blue economy, a commercial hub and arts and cultural center for the Outer Cape, and attainable year-round Outer Cape downtown living destination. So went through each of the suggested actions and just wanted to update you all on our progress, our collective progress as a town. So the first strategy was to build residential and preserving commercial density in the village center. And so it was to incentivize mixed-use redevelopment in the village center. And of course, we all know we established a downtown housing overlay district that created the regulatory framework for mixed-use residential development. One of the things was to have a town-facing business web presence. OrleansMeansBusiness.com is going to be launching at the end of the summer.
I like the name.
Thank you. It's OrleansMeansBusiness.com. It will be accessible through the OrleansMA.gov as well, but just to have, for SEO purposes, to have another URL. And that we have been working on redesigning our current website for which feels like since the day I started, but we needed the new brand in order to do that. So we launched the redesign of the website in July, beginning of July, and that means this will also now be available to work on. And then the other suggested actions was to explore financing options for village center property owners. We did around when we were talking about supporting sewer, connection costs, we did conduct a business survey to assess an interest in a loan program, and found that demand for it was insufficient to move forward. So if that pops up again in the future, we can look at that again. But that was something that was looked into. Enhancing broadband access for Village Center and Town Cove. The suggested actions were to partner with Open Cape to create shared gigabit and wide area networks for residents, visitors, and businesses. We have expanded our municipal fiber network to key town-owned facilities because we were able to get grant funding for that. So that's at Nauset Beach, Skakit Beach, DPW, and the Council on Aging. But the public-facing broadband enhancement for Village Center residents, visitors, and businesses is a longer-term priority that we haven't really been able to kind of get our foot in the door for that.
We would definitely need it if we were going to be
Yes.
trying to bring people in for remote work.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
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 So in the guiding principle 2, create an anchor cultural destination in the village center. So a suggested action was to conduct a needs assessment and feasibility study to determine demand for a cultural hub. And I am currently working on an Orleans Cultural Comprehensive Plan, which is a coordinated long-term framework for arts, culture, history, and heritage across the town. We have done a survey, had 164 responses through that survey from residents, did ask businesses and organizations for their input as well. And I'm currently working on one-on-one conversations with people in the community that represent different sort of segments and demographics. So this plan is assessing cultural space and facility needs and identifying opportunities for year-round cultural activity. It's been really interesting to hear what people say and just hearing
What they want.
what people want and how it all connects. It's
Yeah.
and
Third
you,
space idea.
yeah, and also what's needed and what's not available right now with the current organizational infrastructure that we have in place too. And then so defining the roles for the different committees and groups and figuring out where those gaps exist and can one of them fill that gap? What do they need to fill the gap? So it's been interesting, and my goal is to have a working draft done by the end of June for that. Develop a brand and marketing plan. As you all know, that is, luckily, we have reached a good point with the brand collateral package. So we have the full visual branding system for the town of Orleans. That is consists of logo, color palette, typography, and I've been able to really incorporate that into collateral material, our social media. The comp plan has also been redesigned to incorporate the brand system into that as well. So we're slowly but surely getting internally the organization used to using that. Staff's been really great about it. We are going to be doing, once the new fiscal year starts, I have training that will be scheduled in terms of using Canva, and so getting people able to use the system. And then you'll see it in the website as well. And we, in terms of the marketing plan, that is something that I'm looking ahead to now that we have the brand. Is like, what's our next step with that?
Yeah. Beyond the signs.
Oops. Yeah. Sorry about the spacing on this one. And the enhanced public spaces in the village center. So we suggested actions were a technical assistance and grant program, public art and placemaking strategy, and releasing an annual call for community-driven public space activations. We did launch the grant program, and it is for small businesses, but it's also for community events. So seeing how, those events really do draw people in. We saw it with First Fridays this past Friday, just how many, people came to, into the community, and really, patronized a lot of those businesses, enjoyed the live music. And then the call for, space activations, we did, a pilot last year with the Buoys of Joy that were installed on the Village Green. We're looking at enhancing that installation this year, but also commissioning a new one. And so we'll be putting out a call for local artists to do another installation for 2026. And then as I mentioned, the formal public art and placemaking strategy will be developed as part of the cultural comprehensive plan. Support enhancement of hotel and hospitality assets was another priority, and this is obviously remains a longer term priority. It's there's a lot to that, but part of this was to provide technical assistance as part of that program, and whether it's a financial incentive, and the grant program does exist as a potential tool for property owners to seek support for facade improvements and things like that. So, it touches this bucket a little bit, but again, this is definitely a much bigger, and I think Elizabeth is doing a lot of thinking around that in terms of planning. Small business technical assistance, so develop a technical assistance workshop and seminar series. Micro grant program, and so we did partner with Provincetown Commons to bring their creative development series to Orleans for the first time, and so it expanded access to professional development programming for local businesses and in the creative field, but a lot of that stuff is very much translatable to the rest of the local business community, and they don't limit their participation to just creative people. And then with them, we're piloting a one-on-one technical assistance for businesses. So the needs identified in the town's annual small business survey that was conducted last year, people really wanted e-commerce help and website development. Provincetown Commons had two of their sessions were focused on those two topics, and if Orleans businesses attended those sessions, they were eligible for one-on-one assistance with the consultant that ran the program. So we're waiting to hear back how that all went. But and if the businesses are like, this didn't work, then we'll figure out another way. But I think it was definitely appreciated, anyway, that we're listening and trying to show up for them. Launched the Orleans Local Business or Local Impact Grant Program, and this was kind of the first structured small business support the town has directly delivered. Of course, beyond supporting the chamber and contributing to their annual budget as well. Blue economy and workforce training partnerships. What I will say about this is the existing relationships with regional higher education institutions. We have those and are always looking for ways to partner. But it is a longer term priority. I think that's something that there's a lot of towns looking for this and wanting something.
Well,
like
maybe with the new community college president coming in, there might be some opportunities.
Absolutely. And I think both Elisa and I are on the Barnstable County Economic Development Council, which, so people from the community college are also on that. So I think we have those really good relationships with the workforce.
Were you going to say something, Dick?
We dove into this very briefly. Water Sewer Commissioners, on the Cape, there's going to be so many infrastructure jobs. I mean, with certifications and licenses and things, that these are really good jobs.
Yeah.
And there's going to be lots of them. And at the time, they were rebuilding Cape Tech, and so they really didn't have the appetite to take on anything new. But Connecticut has a program where you can graduate from high school with your first license.
Wow.
And so you can go to work making decent money
Right
the
away.
day after you graduate.
Yeah, and I will say, I should mention that we are continuing to develop a partnership with the Cape Tech. We had 5 interns that did their co-op hours here with us in the town. I think that, it's what Kim calls the town trades program, and introducing the students into, that there's a variety of municipal jobs. We had somebody working in engineering in DPW, and then there was a mechanic in DPW, and then we had 3 IT interns. And so continuing to develop that. And I believe this year we're going to have 2 or 3 IT interns again, and then the DPW is going to be bringing them.
Roslyn has her hand up, but I don't,
Oh.
but I was
sorry. Oh, Dick, you were done?
going to say one more thing, but go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Finish.
The other thing we should look at is that we are letting huge contracts. AECOM's a huge contract, from the water and sewer, and then, the people going to construct sewer. We should look into, and I don't know, I forget all that stuff of municipal procurement, but we could write into the spec that they have to provide
Local.
X number of internships.
Oh, yeah. Interesting.
We
yeah.
should look into that.
Yeah.
So you got to have, these are hundreds of millions of dollars. of contracts.
Right, they should be doing something.
And AECOM,
Good idea.
AECOM, I bet they have millions of dollars across the world in internship programs.
Yeah,
We should get a little here.
it's a good idea.
It probably has to go
Through the
out of
channels.
this room, yeah.
Yeah,
right, right.
well, Amanda took the note, so we know it'll go.
But I think it's worth investigating.
Yeah,
And
Good idea.
and we do. I believe this summer we're getting a planning intern, and then we have somebody in the health department who through the county has like a public health internship program. So we'll be having in the health department an intern from BC there as well. So
Rosalind, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say, Amanda, you know well the resource that Mass Hire is, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And with Kara and
Yep.
working with both Voc Techs, and I'm hoping that, the connections to community college solidify more, right? Because there's so much we can do with apprenticeship programs. There's so much we can do with
Yeah.
those Voc Techs to fill these trade jobs that we are desperately in need of because of our aging population also. So there's a gem of a resource here on the Cape. And the support probably would be making sure that it's marketed well and that people know it's a resource, that that kids that are in the Voc schools know that there's a path to apprenticeship programs, that there's a path to even getting
Yeah.
your associate's degree while in high school, et cetera, right? So I know you know those things. I just want to make sure that we, that's my sweet spot.
yeah,
so,
yes,
yeah. So-
yeah, and we did, at the Cape Tech school, we participated in their in a trade show they had to market the town of Orleans, and luckily this year we had a branded tablecloth, and we had pens, and we had things that the kids were looking for that actually made them want to engage. So that was good. We're getting there.
Candy.
Yeah, there was candy.
All the important
Yes,
things.
there was also candy, and now we have stickers. So we're gonna
all-
get them slowly but surely.
But I wonder if there's a way to connect Dick's idea back with Kara or even Paul through the Blue Economy Foundation. Like if they could start that, it doesn't have to be a town-driven thing. It could be Cape Cod Chamber-driven or Workforce Investment Board. They could set up the partnership.
Or also
Yeah,
the local businesses. I mean, we have local construction businesses in town who can't keep up with the work
Yeah.
they could have because they don't have enough employees. And maybe there's a way to support those businesses by linking them. They're probably not people who know about these programs or would think about it
Yep.
or go research it because they're too busy trying to get through their day doing the work they have.
Yeah.
it's just really hard to manage interns. So maybe like the wealthier companies could give the money to the smaller companies to pay for the.
Not sure
How it works, but something
for
like,
sure,
Yeah.
yeah.
It could be a buddy up kind of system.
Yeah, exactly.
An
Yeah.
electrician who's working alone, we'll give you a buddy.
Yeah. Yeah, that would, yeah. So
Yeah.
that's,
Help train that person.
Yeah.
definitely though, with all of the money, like you're saying, coming into the region, instead of it being completely profitable, getting some kind of scoring advantage if they create this program or reinvest back into our community for our workforce would be,
Yeah, I like that idea.
yeah.
Okay, moving on to principle 4, the create economic development leadership. As you know, both of these things have happened. The Economic Development Committee was formed July 2022, and then I was hired in September of 2024. Create an economic and tourism development fund. Now, the suggested action was to establish a dedicated account in the town treasury for economic and tourism development activities. We did receive a grant to explore district improvement financing for Orleans, and the final feasibility report is expected June 30th. And that would do that. It creates a dedicated kind of income stream for economic development activities in the downtown. And then the grant program is now built into the economic development budget. So whether that money came from, because in the report it actually said the marijuana tax and then the short-term rental tax. But in looking at that, you could say that the marijuana tax goes into this. It goes into the general. But now we have a dedicated fund. So, and then the short-term rental, that's going to pay for when that does come about, that will pay for the actual staff
Yeah.
to do that. So we can't, until we figure out what that income looks like, we couldn't put it towards this. But
Right.
but we have an economic development budget, so there's that.
Yeah.
That's a start. Okay, safer pedestrian and bike connections. We're completing or about to complete a wayfinding study through the MDI grant. So we're establishing a unified signage system that will help with navigability and walkability. And then Elizabeth just applied for a grant for Orleans Downtown Improvement Plan that would would basically identify the projects for streetscape project, public spaces, and infrastructure that supports the new residents, businesses, and foot traffic. So that's ongoing as well. Increased public access to Town Cove waterfront. A couple of notes about this one. The town voted to purchase the 72 Tonsett Road property, which in order to maintain public access to Town Cove, and we do have a kayak rack on that site that people can get a permit for and keep their kayaks there, and we'll continue to develop what that property looks like and how the public can access it. And then Elizabeth also has a downtown and Town Cove resiliency project underway, which is a planning effort to ensure the waterfront corridor remains accessible, functional, and economically vibrant.
Is anybody living in that house?
No,
No.
we're not there yet.
Okay.
And that was the last one. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I said, oh, that was weird. Okay, sorry. This is I think a big one.
This was a big one.
Commercial and fishing infrastructure. The focus has really been on Rock Harbor, and rightly so. And that reconstruction project is underway, almost to completion. And as we know, that gave much needed updates to the commercial fishing and recreational boating assets there and at Rock Harbor. And there was an economic valuation of Rock Harbor, so that when we look forward to how we activate that space or what people want or need in that space, we have that planning. And then just want to say, again, I know, not every plan is perfect, but it has been a really good guiding post for me. And I have heard other communities have copied it.
Yep.
I think the planning board and the town did really good work with that. And I think we've made meaningful progress moving forward with those guiding principles. And yeah, we'll keep referring to it.
Yeah, and then we took it and kind of made it our own as well, and updated our kind of work plan and goals.
Yep.
So it's nice to look back and, take stock and.
Yeah, and I felt like it was important for you all to see that, that.
Well, especially right now, the select board is reconsidering charges of different committees, ours being one of them. And so right now, we're kind of in a reorganization phase. We have to redo our leadership and have that vote, but I thought it would be better for us to get the new charge, understand what the select board and the town manager are going to want from us, and then we could decide, okay, what does that look like? And we're still down a seat, and maybe people won't like the new charge and will want to go on another committee, but wanted to take a moment to look at what we've done and all of our accomplishments, but also talk about, like, this is our opportunity to kind of give Amanda some input on what we think we are good at and that we would like to recommend the select board consider as part of our charge. So, I think there's real value in our input and kind of boots on the ground. We're a little bit different than other committees in that way. So it's nice to have that kind of interaction and keep things moving. But it can also be very tough when we're kind of creating our own agenda that could be separate from the town. So really appreciate that we're pausing to make sure everybody's in alignment. I so often see towns where committees go rogue, they start doing things that are not in alignment, they don't know what each other's doing. So taking a minute, getting everybody kind of reorganized, I think is really smart. And then, thinking about our future. Rosalind, your hand's up still?
Yeah, guys, quick question. So we lost Andrea, right, as our liaison for the select board. Is that going to be part of the reconstituting of the charter to see who that select person is going to be?
Yeah, they'll have a new liaison. I don't think they voted on them yet.
I don't think they
So, but they're discussing who our liaison will be. Right now, I think Mary Wright, was on the planning board. I think she wants to be our liaison, but I don't know. That's up to MEF, the chairman. So we'll wait and see what happens. We'll be assigned someone.
Alyssa,
Yeah.
one thing that I did want to mention is that, looking at our last meeting minutes, we talked about the concentration on Village Center and not East Orleans.
Yeah.
Going back to when this was all done, it was I guess the highest and best effort.
At that time,
Productive,
right.
Given the the constituency of it, the geography,
The sewering,
sewer,
yep.
And that was, we were thinking hub.
Yep.
And so I don't want to lose that as, sure, maybe there's stuff, maybe we should have kept a motel. I mean,
Well, especially since one of the goals was
Right,
hotel,
right,
but
right,
okay.
right.
Yeah.
But,
I was like,
yeah.
okay.
But in any event, the other part of that, though, was that the sanctity of neighborhoods. And that we really are a neighborhood. Sure, Village Center, downtown, but we really are a community of neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Was part of the thinking then. So, so I just want to make sure that we kind of kept it in perspective that, and I don't think anything in East Orleans is going to be ignored. I think there's plenty to do there, especially because sewer's going partway down the road.
I mean, you're saying just put it back on our priority list? Because yeah.
Keep it, I just want to understand where we were, and as we think about where we're going.
Yeah.
And we did talk about it, and this does not particularly address that. The plan does not particularly address that. We talked about it, we understand there's things to get done. There was a grant given to,
Yeah, and you know, in the survey, the small business survey, and then the one-on-one conversations that I've had with businesses, that's exactly what we're hearing, is that there seems like there's been a focus on the village center, but
Correct.
the East Orleans has a lot of value, and I think Elizabeth's going to be looking at that with zoning as well, and the next phase of it.
I think that was in the local comprehensive plan,
Yes.
calling out East Orleans specifically.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, you know,
But you're-
Nauset Beach is our crown jewel, right? We should be making sure that that little village down there reflects that.
Yeah, and how do we move people between those areas is
Yes.
something that we're looking at as well.
How do we move, the key is moving people
Yep.
around.
Yeah.
Not having lots of extra traffic.
Yeah, and
The
we're-
trolley's great, though.
Yeah, and we're having
that's great.
We're having conversations about a transportation option that
Yeah.
other communities have had success with,
Yeah.
and potentially piloting it for
Yeah.
next summer.
That's,
So we'll be able to see if, again, luckily we get to pilot this stuff, and then if it works, it works, and if not, we can pivot and figure out something else that does. But
Yep.
we hear out
Yep.
there that we can just try as much as we want to put, say village center, downtown, all that, but there are, neighborhoods that have a lot of value, that, yeah.
Even within the village center, you
Yep.
know, we want people to park one place.
Yes.
Right,
and
exactly.
Move around and not
Absolutely.
drive around. And
Exactly.
if you can't walk,
Yeah.
you take a little shuttle.
So what else, just from, before I ask Amanda the same question, but from a committee member perspective, what do you think we have done well? Or what do you think we should do more of? What would you recommend to the select board and the town manager? Like, this is what we're good at, and we would like to see this in our charge and continue forward.
Melissa, I can go. Look, I think this has been a great exercise in helping prioritize. There's a pretty long laundry list of that in that economic development report, and just being able to look at that and say, you know, what are the things that we should keep more in the short term, medium term, long term, as we think about, you know, what Orleans wants to look like in a year, 5 years, 10 years, right, 15 years. So I think that's been useful. I think that better integrating ourselves with other committees to make sure that we're not working in silos, like you mentioned, I think that's really important. Because sometimes I do feel like we are working a little bit in an echo chamber.
Yep.
And I don't really know what's going on in the other committees.
Yeah.
So a mechanism to help, to help smooth that, I think would be something I would recommend.
Yeah, I love the prioritization. I love the idea of the town giving us the priorities they're considering or the goals and asking for our input. It's been a challenge to try to come up with an agenda. Amanda and I are like, okay, what can we talk about? Like, it's like we should be responding to or given the project, go do X or help us understand Y, that would really give us like meat instead of a laundry list and we're checking through or, just talking about Amanda's work. So it would, to give us like something meaty to work on.
Well, and I know what's been really helpful for me is that in my work, I do need
Yes, our input.
and you are all, readily available to serve on a working group or, something like that, which has been, incredibly helpful to have that, perspective, but that support too.
Yeah.
And running ideas by, that
Yeah.
and getting feedback on a lot of the work that I'm doing.
Yeah.
I was kind of going to endorse that idea, and like Rosalind, you were saying, I see this group more, like, I'm a little worried about priorities or, meat particularly, only because some of these goals are just huge. They're going to take a long time, and even we got a lot started, but if you pick a priority, then you're focusing on one thing, and what about all the other stuff? And it really is the kind of thing that we have all this stuff, and a lot of it is integrated, and a lot of it's integrated, within this concept of economic development, but also with the other town committees, and that structure is challenging to figure out how to get
Everybody.
the information and make sure that things are all working together in a way, it all comes to Amanda.
Yeah.
And supporting, because you're the one working on all these pieces and connected to the town
Yep.
governance and the other committees and what they're doing, and seeing the opportunities for coordination and collaboration. Make sure the left hand and the right hand all know what they're doing, and we come up with the, you know,
That's the challenge,
plan.
though,
Yeah, it
is how do
is
you
a
then,
challenge.
how do you then keep the committee engaged? Because there are plenty of committees that will go and just talk about nothing and like give their 2 cents. And then there are some people that like don't want anything to do with a committee like that. So it is this trying to balance the two, that there's got to be enough meat and substance for professionals to be involved and not just someone killing time.
So if I had to, I think it's a great foundation. I think the things that are going on, I think, frankly, I wasn't even aware of all of them.
Yeah.
I think it's great that this stuff is building, and I think it's just the start, and I can see more things germinating from that. The one thing that I think that has been my thing since we started all this from back with the planning board, and it, in my mind now, it's a kill it or cure it. And this is more from the comprehensive plan than from the economic development plan. Actively seek destination businesses to enhance local economy.
Yeah.
It's a kill it or cure it.
Yep.
Can people really come here?
Right.
Can we attract a graphic arts firm? Can we attract an IT firm? Can we attract an engineering firm? Can we got one on Main Street.
We got one.
Yeah.
No,
No,
yeah.
but, you know, or a branch of a remote office of a large company, somebody. So that, to me, that's a kill to cure it. Well, can we do that? Can we actively get somebody here? I heard a story about a company that tried to open here recently who ended up opening Harwich because we weren't open for business, kind of thing. I think that's it was.
How many years ago was that?
It was years ago.
Okay,
Thank you, God.
And I think that no, and I think, no, I do think, and part of what I was gonna say earlier was that even in the grants, I think if nothing else, besides being a great program, if nothing else, it says we are business friendly. We are doing things.
Yep.
It is helping, change the culture or the perception.
Yeah, and I so appreciate that comment, and we have a business resource team that's established so that if a
Forgot to put that on the list. That's another.
Well, I don't know if it was even, but we meet biweekly and we invite businesses who are looking to open. So we do have a woman who's going to be opening a pottery studio and business on Main Street. She came to meet with us. She's moving from Virginia, I think it was, or West
Wow,
Virginia.
that's
Yeah, North Carolina. So that, and it's me planning, special projects, health, so we all sit down and we say, this is what you need to do in order to open. And then we met with another type of business last week, which is very exciting and very excited to see coming. But, and they have both said, wow, this town is so business friendly and this is so great to hear. And so now they have faces, names, cards, contact, and if they ever need anything, they know who to reach out to. So
Is Dave on that committee?
no, that's it's
internal.
Staff.
But I think what you're talking about is visioning. Like that's something that we do good at, we're good at, that is, I don't want to say better than town employees, but you guys are in the weeds and we can come up
Yeah.
to the 20,000 foot. So I think visioning, and also many of us work outside of this town and have contacts. So I think that
Travel
there is some,
and, yeah.
there is like some connectivity that we could help with in that way. I think that's what you're talking about. So, the big picture visioning, but also then like trying to like help, we can help in ways, like we want to be useful,
Yes.
like we want to do
Yeah.
stuff. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
were you saying something else? You were looking at me and I just want to make sure I
was
didn't cut.
agreeing with
You're
you.
good. Great. Yeah, okay. Good. Yeah.
Seconding that, 'cause
Okay.
there is something to looking, imagining and then seeing what you can connect to. And then I don't know what the connectors are, but we are on the precipice of opportunity with the sewers and density and a lot of undeveloped land, not
Yeah.
a lot,
Or
some
redeveloped,
undeveloped
some
land.
good redevelopment
Redeveloping opportunities, all of which has to go hand in hand, with the tenants that are gonna go into that redeveloped opportunity. And how is that working? Is there a way to hold hands and support each other?
Yeah.
How about you, Judy? Anything you think we're good at, or you would recommend to the select board that we keep doing?
I think just keep doing what we're doing by asking questions of everyone involved, and we have been doing a great job.
Yeah, that's another thing that, remember the wastewater and some of the other, like, I think the real world experience of some of the implementation of policies or programs, that's something that we can bring that helps you, but also helps to like make sure we're ground truthing, what we think in our fantasy that's happening. So,
And I want you to know that all has such value.
Yeah.
It really does. And, it did move things forward.
Yeah.
When you do have those discussions and, I think you are an advisory committee and you are doing a good job of advising, and I don't want that to get lost.
yeah. Thank you. We do our best.
Maybe one of the links, just thought of it.
Yeah.
that- And it may be that I don't see it just because I don't participate, but we're doing. But and we've had a select board member, but I know being a representative member on a committee doesn't really
Yeah.
give you much opportunity to say much unless there's some pressing issue to bring forward. Maybe think about in that integration piece, if we're advising the select board, then having some kind of regular communication.
Or update from them.
happening,
Yeah,
Updating them. or-
On our agenda could be the liaison update to us, because there are a lot of things going on that they're sitting, great, but it'd be nice if we also had, it was a two-way communication.
Two-way.
And getting updates, or, this is an issue that came up that we would like to hear from you on. I would love for us, what we say and discuss, get back to them. So then that person sitting there saying, I was at economic development and they weighed in on X, Y, Z.
Yeah, and they give their committee liaison reports at the
Yes,
select board meeting.
and I've heard those, they talk about what we're talking
Yeah.
about and stuff like that. So I think there's just a way to, like,
Yep, I like that two-way.
yeah, and also like agenda, I would love to have agenda items from the select board. We would like to hear from you on X.
Yeah.
Then it feels very,
They have the opportunity to do that integration piece, because they are the
Yeah.
overarching, yeah. The other thing that you were talking about that has come up a couple different times, if there was a more formal process for committees or committees that are talking about the same thing to come together. No one wants another meeting, so it better be really efficient and well-run. But there's something there, and I don't know, it doesn't have to be the chairs, it could be other liaisons, but come together and then come back and report. The syncing everybody up is hard to do, like you're saying, but with some real foundational structural changes, I think it's possible. Your memo does a really great job of that. That's like the foundation for us to, what we're talking about, understanding all the other things happening. It gives us the context that we're working within. So that kind of organizational information coming from the town manager or the select board would be helpful. Anything else? Judy, you have anything else you want to add over there?
Got nothing.
Got nothing? Okay. Rosalind, anything? No. Dick? Okay, Debbie, all right. Yep, all right. So my thinking is that we aren't going to really have much to talk about until we have our new charge. So I'm thinking that unless the charge comes out over the summer, which then we could distribute and convene a meeting, we should just plan on September. I know that feels like a long ways away, but
Oh my God, I know.
But
I can't believe it's June.
But last summer, everyone wanted to meet and then nobody came. So I'm like, okay, we're not doing that again. So let's just admit that the town has some work to do. We have our summer to have and other work to do. We could come back together in September. At that point, we would have the new charge. We can think about then the leadership, the chair, vice chair, maybe bring in another member once we know what we need.
Would it-
How's that sound?
Great, but I do have a question. Would it be too much to ask for you to continue your monthly update, though? Just to-
Oh, yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
happy to.
So we're.
I think that's
we
a
don't
great idea.
lose a lot of traction.
Plus, there's a report coming out at the end of June. I would like to read that
Yes,
report.
absolutely.
There's stuff that we need to keep up with.
Yep,
Report.
oh, absolutely.
What a district, did the
The
diff.
diff and the
Yeah, report.
wayfinding.
And the wayfinding reports are coming
the
out the end of June.
Wayfinding baby step planning report, which it's just,
Yeah.
it's a much more
Alyssa, in
engaged
your-
process than I thought it was gonna be, but.
In your absence, we decided that we should have a statement
Yes.
around the Governor Prince project.
Yeah, just keep me off that email.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right. So that's.
So we still have some work to do and to keep
That
up
reminded
with
me.
stuff.
And I will, the review committee for the grants as well as if we want to keep it the same as last time, that's great. Or, I'll need 2 members to,
Who was it last time?
it's Roz and you, I think.
Me? Yeah, because this was the cultural council
Yeah,
No,
with the
it's
cultural council,
cultural-
with them,
Other
yeah.
grants.
with them, right,
I'm happy to do it again, Amanda.
Or, sorry, cultural district, yes, sorry.
right. Okay. Is everybody comfortable with keeping Roz and I as those liaisons for this grant making? Okay.
Okay, great.
What was the committee I came across reading something that Dave's on?
Oh, it's the sewer betterment evaluation.
Okay.
It's like a working group that they're,
All right, is he the liaison from this group?
Correct.
Got it.
Yes.
Got it.
Yep. The business impact.
and
I
I, bel-
didn't know that happened.
Yes.
it's not over, I think there's gonna be, they have a consultant who's doing a whole study. And he was just giving the input, yeah.
Well, because that kind of came from
Us.
us.
Yeah.
Yes,
And I'll claim me complaining at one of those chairs meetings, bringing
Yeah.
some reality to a policy decision that sounds great up here, but when it comes down to the street level,
Yep.
yeah,
it's causing all kinds of problems for people.
yeah,
So, yeah, well, great.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
So glad
happening.
That's, I guess that's
That's
kind of
really
what
important.
like, that's,
Yeah.
you've had impact, and they're reviewing how the betterments get calculated, all of that, so,
And there's going to be even more. Just go on Facebook and read what people
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. Well, I am boycotting Facebook, but it is nice to have a staff who, for a whole bunch of reasons, a staff and a culture that listens.
Yeah.
And that even though we had some really tough meetings, Rich was here and Kevin came and they took action. They're doing something
Yeah,
about it.
that's
So it's not
fabulous.
easy. You were going to say something?
Oh, I just wanted to see, are we able to have those slides that you presented to get a deeper dive, or will that be in the minutes?
it'll be in the minutes, and apologies for not getting them to you. I finished it yesterday. And I meant to print them today, but I will, I'll send the presentation around to you all, and then they'll be in the minutes.
Terrific.
Yeah.
Okay, Rosalind, I saw you raise your hand. Are you, no, okay.
Nope.
So September date is the 7th, Labor Day, so the 8th would,
Is that the second Tuesday? Would that be the second?
yeah, the second Tuesday is the 8th, so it's the day after Labor Day.
Yeah.
Everybody's okay with that,
Like for getting back to work.
getting back to work, or we could do it the third Tuesday, which would be the 15th.
I would have to check and see.
Oh, if the room is available. So stay,
here, the-
okay,
yeah.
well, then we're the
Yeah.
8th.
Yeah.
Everyone's just gonna have to
Yep.
deal. Great.
I may or may not be here. I've got a wedding that weekend, so, that I may be staying for, so.
Okay.
But I'll let you guys know.
Okay.
It's my daughter's wedding, so. it's very
My
important.
goodness.
Oh, wow, 8 weddings.
Yes, you
Wow.
need,
Definitely
Yeah,
won't
that's
be here. You
cool.
shouldn't be here.
Yeah,
you need the whole week off after.
but you know what they say when you're not in the room? Don't be surprised if some votes are made that you,
I know you people.
just putting it out there.
Well, there's that remote option, so.
Yeah.
so is that.
Yeah, you might be a little tired. Okay, I keep forgetting we have to do the roll call vote. All right, so we are September 8th, and we're in this room or remote. Okay. Any other business? Anything else anyone wants to talk about? Nope, okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
actually, I just
You do.
wanted to do a reminder. I think you all got an invitation apropos of a good part of our discussion today, that the Orleans Citizen Forum annual meeting has as its theme, the arts and creative economy. And we are very fortunate to have Randy Cohen of Americans for the Arts, whose specialty is researching the economic impact of the arts. And he'll be speaking, it's on Thursday at 5 o'clock.
This Thursday?
Lower Cape TV.
Okay.
And really, I would encourage everybody to come. This is a great opportunity for us to make a nice, not only get information from Randy, but make a nice connection to a future resource.
Yeah,
And there is a Zoom option as well.
There is
Okay.
a Zoom option as
Okay.
well.
What time is that there?
It's at 5 o'clock at Lower Cape TV.
5 to
I'm
7.
doing a little art show along with some local artists having their work and musician, and
great. Sounds great.
yeah, it'll be good.
That is, what's the date? The 11th.
The 11th.
Okay, cool. Anything else? How about a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All right, in a second.
Second.
All right, Dick? We have to do roll call vote. Dick Hartman,
I did Cartman.
yes. Rosalind?
Yes.
Debbie Oakes?
Aye.
And Elisa Magnata, yes.